Detective was shot by another Albuquerque Police Department officer.
It was the last thing we were expecting to hear.
An emotional police chief, Gordon Eden, confirming an APD detective was shot by another APD cop today.
It happened at the McDonald's on Central near Tramway. Tonight, there are definitely more questions than answers. We have team coverage trying to sort it all out for you.
And we're going to start with Danielle Tedesco, who is live at that scene. And Danielle, there's still a lot of police activity out there.
Yeah, guys, there is. Take a look at that McDonald's, still blocked off tonight, and I am told it will remain so for the rest of the day. Now, as you mentioned, this was friendly fire. An APD officer shot an APD detective. The two were undercover, working in plain clothes on a narcotics bust. Now, that detective hit is in critical condition tonight at UNM Hospital. His identity is not being released right now. The chief did say his family asked them for that. We do know that he has been with the department for many years, and those two suspects involved in this narcotics bust, they are in custody. Now, Chief Eden, as you mentioned, was visibly emotional this afternoon during that news conference.
As you know, we're not able to interview one of the officers that was involved because he is in surgery. And there's many questions that still need to be answered. And right now, I just don't have the answers to those questions. We would just ask that the community please pray for the recovery of this officer.
So traffic is backflowing now, both eastbound and westbound down Central. Again, as the chief mentioned, still a lot that even they need to learn about exactly what happened here this morning. We will be out here to bring you updates throughout the evening. Live at Central and Tramway, Danielle Tedesco, KOB Eyewitness News 4.
As you can imagine, it was pretty chaotic at the McDonald's when the detective was shot. About 20 people were inside, and many saw it all go down. Stephanie Clay-Tort joins us live from there with some of their stories. Stephanie.
Tom, I spoke to a retired man that has coffee with his buddies at this McDonald's all the time, and he says, you know, what happened is tragic, but he is glad that the cops were able to arrest the suspects they were looking for.
Pop, pop, pop.
Rio Arriba County Sheriff's Deputy Gilbert Atencio said he heard the shots across the street in the Smith's parking lot. Several people inside the McDonald's heard the shots as well, coming from the parking lot, including 68-year-old Wallace Anderson.
Well, we just saw these unmarked vehicles pull up, like these Ram 1500 Dodge trucks or whatever, and they surrounded this vehicle so it could not back up and escape. And then at that point, then the shots happened and the guy was dragged to the pavement.
Anderson said he didn't see the officer get shot, but he knew something was wrong when dozens of cops showed up.
The other officer, I saw him leave the vehicle, and then he was hugging another officer, you know, like almost like a relief thing, you know. So at that point, I thought, well, maybe an officer was injured because the officer seemed pretty shook up.
He said this is the second time he's experienced violence at this McDonald's.
To me in Albuquerque, it's a daily occurrence. You know, riding my bike, I witness all kinds of things. Meth dealing, prostitution off of Central. When you ride your bike 20 miles a day, you're just kind of like a street person and you witness all this stuff. So.
Now, as you can see, police officers are removing that crime tape that is surrounding the McDonald's. And many of the witnesses that were in the McDonald's at the time of the shooting, they were held there for at least an hour while detectives conducted interviews. Live at Central near Tramway, Stephanie Clay-Tort, KOB Eyewitness News 4.
And tonight we still have a lot of questions about what's going to happen to that undercover officer who fired those shots. Chris Ramirez picks up our live team coverage with what he's learned about this. Chris?
Yeah, and Tessa, when we spoke to Chief Gordon Eden earlier this afternoon, he, of course, did not release the name of that APD officer who fired those shots. However, a spokesman for the department confirmed to us that APD immediately assigned that officer a counselor, a department psychologist, to provide counseling for that officer this afternoon. Now, at this point, it is just simply too early in the investigation to determine if this particular officer did anything wrong, whether he will face discipline or not. You can see officers are processing the scene, and those are really the kinds of answers that detectives who are here at the scene are looking for. We have learned that this officer will be placed on standard administrative leave. That, of course, is routine for any officer who fires a weapon at someone. As you mentioned, there are still lots of questions here. Our team will be out here. We are going to continue to gather that information to figure out how this happened and what exactly happened. We're live at Tramway and Central. Chris Ramirez, KOB Eyewitness News 4.
And of course, we're going to be following the aftermath of this shooting very closely for you. We're going to have more live team coverage at 6 o'clock. But in the meantime, if we learn anything new in between our newscast, we're going to get that to you on KOB.com and on our Facebook and Twitter accounts.
It has been a tough week for APD. Earlier this week, another APD officer was shot. Lou Golson is recovering in the hospital tonight. He was shot early Saturday morning during a DWI traffic stop at San Mateo near Montgomery. Deputies arrested suspect Christopher Cook a few days later. He's pleaded not guilty on all charges. Tonight.